Welcome to Silent No Longer, where your past is a chapter and not the whole book. I'm Misha, and I'm so glad you're here. This is a safe, judgment free space for anyone who has lived through toxic or abusive relationships and is ready to heal. I know what it's like to feel trapped, unheard, and unseen. Through faith and healing, I found my way forward, and now my purpose is to help others do the same. Here we share real stories of resiliency, growth, and transformation from people who have walked through trauma and come out stronger. My hope is that you'll be reminded that you are not alone, your past does not define you, and healing is possible. If you're ready to take the next step, you can learn more in my book, Behind Closed Doors, or schedule a free clarity call with me. Today, I'm joined by Mark and Lynetta, co authors of the Trauma Bible, a 4 book series that looks at how trauma actually shows up in everyday life, in the body, the mind, emotion, and relationships. Thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thank
Thank
you
you.
for having us.
All right, can you just start out by telling us a little bit about your story and how you ended up writing your book?
Do you want to
Tell
start?
tell us
Me?
about your story,
My
honey.
story? Okay. Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody who's listening. I know this can be a challenging topic. Trauma is not like, oh, wow, I'm going to go talk about trauma. Yay. So thank you. Thank you for being here with us for this conversation. Um, my experience from the time I was little, I didn't know that things were not normal. I thought that this is the way life is.
Mhm.
I thought there was something wrong with me that I didn't know how to cope with this family, and that's how what we've seen is like a big population will say, well, what's wrong with me? What am I doing wrong? And because how can I fix it is basically what I was asking myself from the time I was little. Even maybe if I'm really good, maybe if I behave, maybe if I do my chores, like anything I could do to keep myself safe. And I didn't know until later in life when I was getting into trouble with, I was getting into drugs and alcohol from the time I was a teenager, and I got in trouble at, I think I was only 17 the first time I got in trouble for stealing. And I started going to 12-step meetings and finding out that I had a lot of dysfunctional ways of being in relationship and that where those come from. That was my very first introduction to, oh, maybe this isn't normal. I read a book, Codependent No More, and Melody Beattie. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have all these symptoms, but it comes from originally from my family of origin. And then I started to get, well, maybe it's my environment, my family. It's not all about me. Maybe I'm not the only one with a problem here, you know? And I was attracting men that I was recognizing that were very much like my mom and dad.
Mhm.
So, and then I was hearing other stories because when you're in recovery, you get to hear everybody else's story. And when they would share their stories, I felt so much better because even some of them had even harsher, family experiences and relationships than I did. And I was like, oh, I'm not alone. Before that, I really thought I was alone. I really didn't think that
Mhm.
anybody else felt the way I did or was experiencing what I was. I felt so isolated. But once I got into
Mhm.
recovery programs, that helped me to see that, oh, and one of the most powerful things that they said in those 12-step meetings was the God that you understand has gotten you to where you are right now, and that you could have a sponsor that has a good relationship with God that you can borrow until you fully have your own relationship with God. So, in other words, I could disregard everything I knew from my mother and her religion because it wasn't working for me. I was raised Jehovah's Witness. So,
Okay.
it was not it was not a very, like, comforting religion, you know? It was, like, a lot of judgment, and, I always thought I was sinning and doing something wrong, and, and so when I went to the 12-step meetings and they said that, there is a God that will listen to me and cares about me and that I could have a loving relationship and there was no judgment, I was like, "What? This is not the God I understood." And so I found that it was very important and comforting to hear from other people how they have a more healthy relationship with their creator than what I had. And that helped me because a sponsor will help guide you through the steps.
Mhm.
And it's very, having a higher power is one of the most essential steps to your recovery.
Yeah.
So I found that it was very what a relief that I could turn to a higher power that was going to be loving and supportive and actually cared about the traumatic experiences I went through and listened to me. So that was my very first introduction to healing and recovery was going into those 12-step meetings. And I want to stop there because I'd like Mark to share his experience.
What was the question again? Oh, no.
Just your story and where you came from and how you got to be writing your book.
How we got to be writing the book, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm. Yeah, so both of us had certain trauma in our younger years, certain things that happened with our families of origin, and traumas some people don't like the term, which we understand, so we kinda define it as something went on in our earlier life for both of us that was a shock to our system, if you will.
Mhm.
Um, and a part of us somewhere inside was just like, this is not right. I shouldn't be treated this way.
Mhm.
And we have to adapt, do something about it, and our bodies adapt. Like maybe we get tight in our body, like we're always ready to have to run for it, for example. Or maybe we start thinking things in our mind like Lynetta alluded to, like, "Oh, maybe there's something wrong with me, and if I can just be a good girl or a good boy, I won't get in trouble as much."
Yeah.
And we make these adaptations from having experienced what most people would call trauma. And everybody has them to somebody to some extent. Everybody who's listening to this, you may not call it trauma, but we have a checklist which we're going to be putting online, which you can just look at how your body is in general, just nowadays. Do you have tension here? Do you have tightness? Do you have these kinds of thoughts running through your head, these kinds of emotions? And if you run through the checklist, you'll see, and this is just part of being a human being, that we all have these adaptations to things we've experienced earlier in our lives that part of us knows we should not have had to go through that.
Mhm.
And that's actually the reason that come to writing the trauma Bible. We're both in our 60s now. And besides what happened earlier in our life, we've spent decades, what you'd call working on ourselves, personal development, spiritual growth, however you term it. And we've gotten a lot of freedom about everything that happened to us, even what we'd say is a spiritual understanding of why all that occurred, but that might be outside the purview of this particular show. And we've learned the best techniques for us to deal with trauma in our bodies, which is really Lynetta's expertise. She's our body whisperer.
Mhm.
She does bodies way better than I do bodies. That's not my strong suit.
Yeah.
I'm a little better at the mind stuff about the limiting beliefs that we've picked up.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
we've been together going on 12 years now, and we have an amazing relationship.
Mhm.
Some might even call it a soulmate level relationship. Huh, honey?
Yeah. It's taken me a while to believe in that because I had so many relationships. I didn't really believe that. I kept testing him because I'm like, yeah, we'll see how long this lasts.
After about 10 years, she's like, yeah, maybe he does love me.
Maybe.
It's been a challenge.
Yeah.
But I absolutely love and adore this woman, like
Mm,
totally since the get go.
yeah.
So, so we've learned how to navigate this in our bodies, in our minds, our limiting beliefs, in our emotions, and in our relationship.
Hmm.
And we got at a certain point, like, you know what? For all the people who are on a similar journey that we undertook starting 60 odd years ago, we need to offer our experience, our wisdom,
Hmm.
our love, our
Yeah.
support with everything that we've gleaned from our life journeys. So that's really what created the Trauma Bible, to just create a resource that people can go to. And there's two ways we designed it. One way, and it's similar to Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life, that you can read it cover to cover. And right now we have 4 books that comprise it. One book on dealing with body issues and how trauma may have influenced your body and what to do
Mhm.
about it, and mind issues, emotional issues, and relationship issues. So there's 4 books to the series right now, that we actually have plans for a bunch more books, but we'll leave that for now. And this is the best of everything that we've learned that we want people to have access to, so that it might support you and your listeners on the journey you are on.
Yeah, it's kind of like in the 12-step programs, they have recovering alcoholics helping other alcoholics to get clean and sober. Well, we
Mhm.
are recovering trauma
Yeah, one of our taglines
survivors.
is we're trauma survivors supporting other
Other,
survivors.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and we're not like on a pedestal
We
looking.
don't claim to be
We're not
gurus or any of
gurus or
that. It's not like we have the answers.
it's that we're hand in hand and we're just showing you what the resources are that we use that work for us, and then you try them on and see
Mhm.
if that works for you or not. And maybe it will, maybe it won't. But it's done amazing for us, and we're taking the very best of everything that we've learned and making that
Easily
available.
accessible.
And it's not put in any, we made sure we didn't want to have any medical terms, no therapist terms,
Mhm.
no, it's not spiritual terms. It's put in everyday language, just like you and I are having this conversation right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Lynetta, can you tell me more specifically about your story to have been in like bad relationships?
Yeah. I actually, so I've had 4 marriages. This is my 4th. But had some boyfriends that were heartbreaking, like equally as painful. So I counted 7 in all. And in each one of those, it was like they were not emotionally available. And I was not emotionally available either. But we were both trying to get our needs met from each other, and we weren't taking care of ourselves, either one of us. Um, so in my first marriage, it was he couldn't even talk. He didn't even know how to express or use his voice or share his emotions and his feelings. So I didn't even know how he felt about me. And we
Mhm.
wouldn't even talk. I mean, I I just I was shy, he was shy, and we just were together, but we weren't sharing anything about each other.
Mhm.
And we'd just watch a lot of TV and just hang out. And after a while, I just couldn't take it anymore living with somebody that I didn't even know if he really loved me or not.
Yeah.
And then, and he did had a hot temper, so he would like drive his car real fast and scare me. And the more scared I got, the
Mhm.
more faster he would drive, which
Yes.
scared me even more. And, then it also I got in front of him on the TV once, and he hit the wall and hurt his hand, and he said, "Next time it'll be your face." So, that's the
Mm.
point where I said, "I gotta go."
Mm.
And I left at that point, and I think it was like it took me about 5 years. I would go see him again and off and on until I could finally make a clean break. Now that's a really hard thing at the beginning. It was really hard for me to get out of a relationship, even if it was a bad relationship, because I was so scared of being alone. And, the fear of being alone was almost worse than the fear of being with an abusive in an abusive relationship.
Mhm.
Because I knew how to manage being in a with a scary person, but I didn't know how to manage being alone in the middle of the night with nightmares because I used to have a lot of
Mm.
nightmares. So I had to have somebody in bed with me. So I would even line up my next guy before I left the one. I'd have to have a backup and there would be no space in between. I would just go from guy to guy to guy to guy. And I ended up with alcoholics, addicts. The second one was a heroin addict, and I fought him on it for about a year and tried to leave, and I'd come back, and then I ended up using with him. So I started being a heroin addict with him. I would do whatever drug or alcohol my boyfriend did, and it would become my substance. But then I found out that's what codependence, like, I was just extremely codependent, I could not I thought I couldn't survive without him. And, I went to the CODA meetings and Al-Anon meetings, and that helped me to understand how this works, how these kinds of relationships get set up. Being so scared to be alone, it just feels like it's better. The pain of being without him was so great that I wouldn't leave. That's similar to what the alcoholic or addict says. If the pain of getting clean and sober is greater than getting clean and sober, they will continue to use. So that's
Mhm.
how I was using relationships. Um, and then I ended up going to jail, and I had 30 days, and then I went into a rehab for 60 days. So I spent a total of 90 days. Um, and when I came out, I said, I have to change things. I'm like, I have to divorce Randy and I have got to clean out my life and get all these um relationships that are just dysfunctional out of my life. Also, I found out I had hep C, which really scared me because they said there's no cure for it and I would die of it. And I was only 27 at the time. And
Mm.
this is right when I went to jail and I went to rehab. It was like everything came crashing down and said, "You have to change your life." It was
Mhm.
like there was no going back because it was absolutely what they say in the program, jails, institutions, or death. Oh my.
Mhm.
And that's what I was looking at. And I was in jail. I'm like, okay, I have to change this. So I came out. I literally kissed the ground when I got out. I'm like, thank you. I will never do this again. So I started, I went to all the meetings and then I started looking for, I needed more spiritual. Like after a while, the meetings, I got tired of hearing the same stories over and over again. After about a year, I was like, I need something even more than just going to these 12-step meetings. And I was still seeing guys that were not healthy at the time, but it was getting better and better. Like the next one, he was a guy in recovery. So, at least both of us were working on ourselves, and we were both trying to be clean and sober, and it was more healthy. So each
Mhm.
relationship did get healthier and healthier. One thing I say, my mantra is next, because the sooner I could say next, the better. So I noticed that time of staying with somebody who was not good for me would get shorter and shorter and shorter. So instead of 5 years, it would maybe be 2 years. And then it got to 1 year, and then a few months. And then right before Mark, I think it was like a week with the
1 week.
1 week with this guy. And I'm like, oh no, this is not happening. And so what I decide in each relationship, I actually wanted to experience something I asked for, and I did experience in spades with each one. Like with my second husband, Randy, I wanted to uh, have street smarts. I didn't want anyone to be able to con me, because I felt so naive. I was raised all my life just
Mhm.
sheltered in this religion with my mother keeping me under her wing. And I wanted to go out there and be wild and run with the wild kids. And so I wanted to learn from a convict, and I did. I learned everything I needed to know about street smarts from him. And then the next one I wanted, when I moved us to out of my small town in Mariposa to San Jose, California, and I then said, I want somebody who picks me, who because I didn't trust my picker anymore. But I thought, hey, what if I trust him? If he chooses me, then he'll love me and cherish me. And I found one who did. He was totally loved me, adored me, but he was 23 years older. But he was providing all the financial support. He was a good friend. I could talk to him about anything and everything. I was not attracted to him, but I thought, look at all these attractive, gorgeous guys I went for before, and look what happened to my life. So I said, that doesn't matter. I don't care about what he looks like. Just does he treat me really well? And this guy did. He took good care of me. He gave me all the training I needed. I went through all these healing workshops like matrix energetics, and I had
Coaching.
coaching, life coaching training, and he did it with me. So it was a very healthy relationship. But then I wanted more. I saw a couple that was very passionate one day. I'm like, oh, I want to have that passion, and I don't have that in this relationship. So the next relationship was very passionate, and he was a Latin lover, and oh my gosh, it was just the yummiest. That's what I wanted. I wanted the yummiest experience I could have, sensually with a man, and sexually, of course. And I had that. But then that relationship fell through because he put his mother, his ex-wife, and his children first before me.
Mm.
And I'm like, wait a minute. I think I'm like fourth in line for considering me. And they were all first, financially, emotionally, everything. He supported them way more than me. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm just totally devoted to him, but he put me so low on the line. So I'm like, no, I got to move on. So I think it was like a year and a half with him, or 2 years with him, and then I moved on. And then I said, I want a man who has done all the transformational work, who has done the coaching. And it was like I was choosing from 5 men the best qualities of 5 men in my past that I liked, that I wanted. So I had this list going on that I wanted for my next relationship. And Mark had, what was it, 7 common things that we had both taken. We were both life coaches, both massage therapists, both avatar training, landmark
Landmark.
education,
Matrix energetics.
matrix energetics, and we were at High, which was a workshop, Human Awareness Institute, where we met, and they teach about love, relationships, having your yes, your no, setting boundaries, communication. And so we met at that workshop. So I was like, oh, this is going to be really fun. And it's more amazing than I could have even dreamed to have a relationship with somebody that is doing their own work. He never points the finger at me. He never blames me for anything. He takes personal responsibility for his life. So there's no making it, we don't make each other wrong. We don't say, oh, you're bad or you're wrong for wanting
for your personal
whatever you
preferences,
want.
whatever.
You know, and we can share anything with each other. And even if one or the other gets triggered, we partner up together and say, how can we help you heal this and clear this together as a team? So it's the most extraordinary relationship. I couldn't have even dreamed this one up. It's like
Yeah.
trusting that the universe is going to provide for me a better relationship that I could even imagine, and that's what came into my world. He had qualities that I didn't even think to ask for that are also just bonuses, you know. Like sing, he can sing and play the guitar, and he sings in Hebrew. It's beautiful. So I am ratting you out. So my
You are.
husband is an ordained rabbi, although he's never worked as a rabbi, but he is ordained, and he can sing the entire scriptures in Hebrew. So I mean, I just love the sound of Hebrew. It's beautiful. So I got bonuses. Yes.
And by the way, by the time I got to Lynetta, she was saying to herself that her picker was broken.
Yeah.
She didn't trust herself. And I actually picked her for an exercise to do at the Human Awareness Institute. And that's when we kind of looked into each other's eyes and saw future possibilities.
Yeah, I trusted his picker.
That's so awesome. I love that story.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to add, and this I want your listeners to hear. We, at first glance, were not each other's type.
Not at all.
At all.
No.
In other words, Lynetta was not the kind of woman I would pick on the surface. And the same thing, her for me.
Oh, yeah.
So
all my guys had long hair, big muscles, tattoos.
Street smarts.
And Mark looks like a
yeshiva bacher. Somebody who studies in a Jewish school, which is my background somewhat.
Yeah.
And Lynetta was not the kind of woman I would pick either. You know, I had things against beautiful women. I figured, oh, there's going to be a lot of baggage with that. Not that I was wrong. So I actually didn't want a really beautiful woman, but I was like, well, let's try it out anyways. And it's been amazing. Yeah. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah. In his upbringing, it's actually the qualities of the woman that are magnified, not how you look.
In the Jewish tradition, on Friday nights, a husband would sing to his wife, Eshet Chayil, which is the last proverb from the book of Proverbs. And the last two lines of it say that a woman who is beautiful is nothing, and a woman who looks lovely, whatever. But a woman who has insight and spirituality, now that is to be praised. And literally, as a Jewish husband, and previously I was married 21 years, you would sing that every night, every Friday night to your wife about it's the qualities, not what they look like on the outside.
Yeah. I just love you guys' story. It warms my heart and it gives me hope that one day.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm
we
kind
are
of like,
here.
I don't trust my picker either.
We are here to give you hope. Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes. I mean, imagine if he picks you, then that means he
Mhm.
just thinks the world of you. And I had this belief too that whoever loves the most is going to get
Ugh,
hurt the most in the relationship. So if you're adoring him and you just think he's wonderful, but he's kind of aloof and doesn't really like, who do you think is going to get hurt in that relationship? The one
Always
who loves the most,
yeah, and I love
right?
yeah,
hard, so
Right? You love hard. Yeah.
I
yeah.
do, I
So,
like and
yeah.
it's not even like, I wouldn't say I've ever been in love, like, people say, "Oh, yeah, I was so in love with this person." I'm like, "Well, how do you know you're in love with the person?" I still to this day don't understand the term, maybe I will one day, but,
Yeah.
like, I will care for somebody so much and so hard and just want everything, like, all the good for them, you know?
Yeah.
I would call
So
that in
that
love.
That is.
I would totally
that
call
is
that
in
in
love.
love.
I just thought that was
Yeah.
caring about someone.
100%.
Oh,
I'm the same way with
yeah.
all my friends though too, like, if you make it to my
Oh,
Yes.
friends, like, 'cause I don't have very many friends 'cause it takes me a lot to even let somebody into my life. So if I
Mhm,
let you
yeah.
in, like, you have to know that there's something special about you because I don't just let anybody in my life, so
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah. Well, that's what we are for each other. We just want the best, only good,
Mhm.
only good, all the time.
But
Yeah.
part of that is this may sound a little strange, but we're both so committed to our spiritual growth or self-development, whatever you call it,
Mhm.
that we have a commitment to each other that if we see each other being small in any way, like getting caught up in something that we can't get ourselves out of, we've given each other full permission to say, "Hey, honey, there's something going on here you may not see. Can I share it with you?" And
Yeah.
we are always open to that sharing. So it's like we're each other's greatest supporters for our own growth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's an inherent part of our relationship, that commitment.
Yeah. And it's like I've wondered because we were doing soulmate coaching for a while and it just seemed like a lot of people would look at our relationship and think, "Well, that's great for you, but I don't see that as a possibility for myself." But look where I came from. I came from relationships that sucked. I mean, we
Mhm.
couldn't talk to each other. They had hot tempers. I didn't know how to talk. I didn't even know how to communicate,
Yeah.
and all of them, I mean, I went through years of it. I mean, I was miserable. I would sit in a relationship to where my skin was crawling and I thought several times I even
Mhm.
attempted suicide cuz that was the only way that
Mhm.
I thought I could get out of it. So,
Yeah.
twice I did that. And so
Mhm.
if somebody like
Wait,
that
finish that story though, because they need to
oh,
hear what happened.
okay, so I know that's kind of a heavy load to drop,
So
just
you
like
need to
drop
share the
that
whole thing if you're
bomb.
gonna bring it.
Okay. So the first attempt, I took some sleeping pills and I just the in the relationship, I could not understand why he was so distant from me and why he didn't want to even come to bed. I would go downstairs and find him doing, with
Mhm.
magazines and stuff like that. And I'm like, I couldn't wait to have him come up and be with me and snuggle and, be intimate. I wanted that so much. And it just broke
Yeah.
my heart that he didn't want to be even close to me. And I didn't understand why. And he didn't know how to, well, neither one of us knew how to communicate through challenges like that. And then I found out he was using, which we were in recovery together. So
Mm.
then my son said my son was like 6 years old and he loved him. He was really actually being a good father to my son. And my son didn't want to leave. And I felt
Mm.
like if I took myself out, that my son would be better off without me.
Oh. Mhm.
And so I took a handful of these sleeping pills
But focus on
and
what happened afterwards, why you decided to not go down that path anymore,
oh,
because you
yes.
tried twice.
Okay. Okay.
Focus
So
on that.
so what finally got me was when I said, "Wait a minute. oh, I heard this voice saying, well, if you end your life, you'll just have to like in the next life, you'll still have to. And I've never been raised to believe in reincarnation. And I don't know where this voice came from, but it said, you're just going to pick up where you left off. So you're going to have to deal with it one way or the other. So I'm like,
Hmm,
oh, wow, I never thought of that. Like, I'm not getting out of this. I have to deal with it. So
And it rang true for you.
it rang true. That felt true to me. So I said, okay, so what do I need to do? And I just heard, you're going to have to put one foot in front of the other. You're going to need to open up your curtains, let the sun shine come in, and take one
mhm,
step. And it took about 3 days of doing that. And I said, I can't keep doing this. Like, and then I heard, if you don't have joy, you're not going to be able to do this. And I'm like, what's joy? I don't understand. I don't get it.
yeah,
Because I was so depressed for so long,
mhm,
and then it started coming. Just asking the question is enough. It's like whatever you call it, your higher power, creator is listening to you. When you ask that question and say, "Well, what is it? I don't know what joy is." Then the joy started like I started seeing more sunshine, or maybe a sunset, or those
mhm,
moments started creeping in more and more just by asking the question, because good questions are like doors. They open up new
yeah,
doorways. So then I saw, oh, now I see what I need to have joy in my life consistently. So I started doing more things. I started juicing. I found that watching only shows that are uplifting or comedy that make me laugh, and that doing more
mhm,
things in nature would bring more happiness and joy into my life.
Went to massage school.
I went to massage school. I even went to the Indian powwows and enjoyed, how because I was trying to leave my Jehovah's Witness training, but I still wanted to pray to my God because I still believed that was the right God. And they said at the in Indian powwows, they said, we don't tell you what God to pray to or not. Like, that's up to you, you know. But they showed me how to be connected in nature, and I could still have any God that I wanted to pray to. So I thought that
mhm,
was beautiful. So finding some spiritual path was important also, because I just didn't resonate. It was very challenging. If you've been raised in like a Jehovah's Witness, it is so challenging to leave. Not many people can leave it. And even if they do, they end up just partying, drugs, alcohol, and because they don't want to jump into another belief. They're so
mhm,
scared that they're going to jump right into another belief system, and they're gonna be stuck in that and find out it's not true, and they just came out
mhm,
of that. So to find a new spiritual path is very challenging, but you need to find something that feels true in your heart, that feels like, "Oh, this is something I know is in my soul." My soul says, "Yes, I have to that this makes sense." And for me, it's been little bits of everywhere I go. I've taken a little bit here, a little bit there, but I never committed to like just one belief. I've I've created my own. I've taken it like a buffet table, and oh, this is good. I'll take this, but I'll leave that. And it has to resonate with me in my heart and my soul. And so it's a
mhm,
very personal relationship. And I know that our book does not go into all this spiritual, but it's just like once I started talking with you, Misha, there's something
yeah,
about you and probably your viewers that they are more spiritually
mhm.
inclined. So that's why I'm sharing in this way. Yeah.
Well, I wanna say thank you first for, sharing that story with you because I also went through that with both my relationships.
Uh,
When I was with the kids' dad, it was so bad, but I was also dealing with, I was in a really bad car accident, so I was dealing with major pain every single day,
Mm,
and then I had to move. I lost my job and my schooling. I had to move into the house that I was, sexually molested and raped in growing up,
mm,
so I
Oh,
was
mm.
dealing with all that trauma,
Wow.
and
yeah.
then
Wow.
on top of that, dealing with a horrible relationship and no
Yeah.
support from
Yep.
anybody. So
Yep.
I literally got to the point where I almost committed suicide. I can remember like it
Yeah.
was
Mm,
yesterday. I was, like, laying in the tub, and I was like, "Oh, I could just, do it
Yeah.
right." I don't wanna go too
mhm.
graphic 'cause I don't wanna
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
need somebody hearing, but, like, I could, like, do this right now, and same with you, a voice popped in my head and said, in which I know it was God, and he was like, "Yeah, but who's gonna find you?" And
Mm.
that
Wow.
broke me, and I just started bawling because I knew it would be my oldest daughter walking in and finding me first, and I couldn't do that to
Oh,
them.
yeah.
Wow.
So, that was the moment
Wow.
that I decided that I was gonna take God off the shelf because I had put him up on the shelf after I was
Mm,
raped because I blamed myself for everything and didn't
Yeah.
think I deserved him and, like, all the things.
mhm,
So, I
Mhm.
took him down, and then, I was like, "Okay, well, I need your help getting out of this."
Yeah.
And
mhm,
that's when I brought him back into my life, and he helped me get out of it, and I got back into school, and the landlord
mm,
um, let me live there, but just like you, like, we had a horrible relationship, and I always knew there was something off in our relationship. Like, I always thought that he was gay the entire time we were together, but I couldn't prove it, so I just thought it was in my head and all the things. But he did
mhm,
end up eventually cheating on me with a guy, and now he's married to a guy, so, like, at least I know where
mm.
the, barrier was in our relationship sort of thing.
Right.
Yep.
But then I got with, um my ex-husband, because I didn't get married to their dad.
Mhm.
But I got married, and then it was the same with him, we didn't talk to each other.
Mm.
And if I
Mm,
was downstairs, he was upstairs, or he
Mhm.
worked out
mm,
on our like, we were never around one another.
Yeah.
He would
mhm,
come to bed, and he would wake me up, and it'd be almost time for me to get up for work anyway, so I would just get up, like, so we were never in the same room together. And it
mm.
Yeah.
was so bad to when we got a divorce, people didn't even know that I was married because they never
Mhm.
seen
Wow.
us together.
Wow.
Like,
Yeah.
we would go to church, and he would
Mm,
either not go or go late or go there before us, and yeah,
mm,
it was really bad, and we never communicated, like, we never talked to one another.
mm,
Mm.
So, but
Yeah.
it did get to the point where
mm,
I was like, "Ugh, I'm just so tired of dealing with this," and I thought about it. It didn't cross my mind as much of like, "Hey, I'm going to do it this time." It was like, "Oh, we're to that point in the relationship."
mm,
And the enemy was attacking me so hard, I was like, "Alright, something's gotta change," and that's when I, um basically stopped praying for our relationship and praying for him instead of praying for myself.
Yeah.
mm,
Yeah.
So, because I didn't want it to end that way, but
mhm,
Yeah.
so, yeah, thanks for sharing that. And then
Oh,
I
thank you for sharing yours.
mhm.
Yeah.
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 So, yeah,
Takes
I
a
mean,
lot of
like,
courage
relationships
to share that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot I didn't talk about things for the longest time. I don't know, like, something with this podcast, like, God wanted me to start it for a reason because I talk about things and I'm like, "Oh, okay, we're going there." But
Yeah, and I love
yeah.
the ease that you talk in a conversational tone, which makes it
Mhm.
really just I can feel your heart and and it's like we have cup of tea together and we're just sitting there, it feels
That's what
like it's
everybody
just
says.
us. It's so
That's so funny, that's
comfortable.
what everybody says. They're like, "I just feel like I'm just kicked back with my coffee or my tea, and we're just sitting here having a conversation. I forget that we're
Yeah.
even recording."
Yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mm,
But that's
So
great, I love it.
you're
Hmm.
natural.
mhm,
Yeah.
Um
We love to talk about this stuff. We
mhm,
love to. And I have another book that I wrote on trauma. It's called Do the Work and it's on Amazon right now. It's 5 steps to transcending trauma.
Mhm,
And in that book I don't spend a lot of time, but I tell every dark
mhm,
story in my past.
mhm,
Basically I wanted to share it for a couple of reasons. One is to um just get all my skeletons out of the closet, and so I wouldn't be afraid of anybody digging up anything on me because it's already out
mhm.
there and I wrote about it.
Yeah.
But also I share how I healed and my path, and then I give the reader some exercises for them to do. So I like to the reason why I am so open about sharing is one, the 12-step meetings where everybody shared openly what their story was, because it gives
Mhm.
strength and hope to those who are just new, who are starting on the
Yeah.
path, and they can see where we are now, and that gives them
Mhm.
great hope, and to know they're not alone. And
Yes.
my mom raised me to like, if I told her the truth, if I told her everything, she said it's gonna be way easier than if you lie or
Mhm.
withhold. So I would tell my mom everything. So that kinda taught me that it's safe to
Yeah.
share everything.
Mhm.
And it's helped people. And for me, if it helps even one person that we've
Yes.
shared our story,
Mhm.
then it's worth
Mhm.
it.
Mhm.
It's worth it. Everything I've been through is worth it
Yep.
for that reason.
100%.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep, that's the exact reason why I wrote my book and started the podcast because I'm like, how can I get
Mhm.
everybody's story out there? And doing this podcast, I've noticed everybody's story is so different. Like I thought I've seen it all growing up.
Mhm.
Seeing everything that my mom went through and being part of her story, I'm like, there can't be much worse than this.
Mm.
Oh, I hear stories from other people and I'm like, oh,
Wow.
like, sometimes I sit here and think, I guess I didn't have it that bad, but I had it more of the emotional part in all my relationships because I had a boundary of, like, "You ever touch me, you're
Yeah.
gone," because
Yeah.
that was my
Yeah.
boundary, yeah.
I had that
But
Same
boundary
here.
now
too.
I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. But
but, I mean, the
there's
rest of it was normal
emotional.
to me.
Oh, yeah, there's
Mhm.
emotional
Mhm,
stuff, and then mine and then I would catch my husband doing like, catch his paraphernalia and stuff, and he'd say, What do you who do you believe, your, lying eyes or me?" I'm like,
mm.
"Whoa," and he meant it, and, I was like I was almost convinced. I was like, Wait, are my eyes like, am I seeing something?" Like, I would doubt myself,
Oh.
It's like, I know, it's crazy. It's like, wow. And I know there's other people, other women out there that are listening right now going, "Oh my god. I totally relate to it." And that's
Mhm,
what it creates, this like, "Oh gosh, somebody hears me, they know me, they see me, they get me." You know? And that's
yeah,
hey, when I go to therapist, I'd say, "What have you been through? Have you been through tell me about your or is this just book knowledge?"
most of it's just
Did you
book
just
knowledge.
yeah, just go and get a degree and then you're gonna come in and, help me with my life when you haven't been through it yourself? And that's why it's so important to me that we're saying we've been through trauma and we're writing it
Mhm,
as survivors for survivors because we've been through it ourselves. We're not just studying it and we have all these case
yeah,
studies to share with you. It's like we are the
mhm,
case study.
Mhm.
So to
yeah,
me that gives it more validation if you've been through it yourself.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I worked for, a mental health clinic as a case manager, and I had this one client went inpatient, and I was talking to him about why he went in there, and he said that, one of his really good friends was didn't wanna be in his life anymore, and they were really, really close, and they just
Mhm.
stopped. She just called him up one day and said, "I don't want you in my life anymore." But
Oh,
and I kinda went through that with somebody, and I had to go through a healing process because of it, but they were it's almost like you're grieving a person. If
yeah.
that person's in your life all the time, except for that person's still alive, they're not
Yeah.
dead,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and he thought there was something wrong with him because he was just so upset and distraught about it
Mm.
because, I mean, I don't know what counselors and therapists say to people, but he was totally believing that, and I looked at him, I said, "Your feelings are totally validated." I
Yeah.
said, "You just had somebody be in your life the entire time, and now they're just gone. That's like losing somebody." I said,
Yeah.
"And it's even harder because they are alive and you know that you could reach out to them." I'm
Yeah.
like, "Don't let
Mhm.
anybody ever say that, your feelings aren't validated because they
Yeah.
are."
Yeah.
And he's like,
Mhm.
"Oh my goodness, thank you so much." And, like, that right there just, like lifted a ton away
Mhm.
from him because he thought there was something wrong with him. And
Yeah.
it frustrates me because, like, that's not what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
But
Well,
anyway.
you had experienced something like that, so you were speaking
Mhm.
from your own experience, and you
Yeah,
knew that this is tough.
it is.
Yeah. Yeah, and just having somebody see you and go, "I get you,
Mhm.
and I totally get you, and yeah, everything you're feeling, of course, of course, of course you're feeling that." That is so healing to say
Mhm.
that for someone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's why I always
so
tell people, "Share your story. Just
yeah.
share your story."
Just share your
I have
story.
so
I
many
love how
stories
you
I
open
can.
it. You're like, "Just share your story. What had
Mhm.
you write this book? Share your story," and then you just open it up and let us run with it. So, thank you.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, that's just pretty much what it is. Everybody just needs to tell their story because you never
yeah.
know who it's gonna help. And
Mhm.
that's my goal.
Exactly.
Everybody tell their story.
Mhm.
Somebody's gonna get something out of it somewhere.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mark,
Uh,
he had a very he did took a different path. He didn't even sleep with anybody else until his first marriage at 31 years old.
oh,
So,
that's so
maybe
sweet. That was
the
my goal, but it didn't happen. Not by choice, but it didn't happen.
and he was studying all the time and,
Yeah, well, Lynetta was running with the
running.
wild guys. I was in yeshiva, like, just studying everything basically not to do because my understanding at the
Mm,
time was, well, God doesn't want this, 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 and this.
Right.
Basically, almost everything was prohibited.
Yeah.
So,
mhm.
So he studied for 8 years.
yeah, yeah, about everything not to do
Yeah.
for God, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah. And then, in his first marriage, she just what ended it was her finger pointing,
Oh, yeah, the
really.
last couple of years,
Mhm.
yeah, she was very unhappy and depressed. She actually was one of the classic hoarders, like, filled half of our house with stuff, and,
Mm,
and then she would point the finger at me and say whatever was wrong in her life because me, blah, 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 and, finally, I was like, after a couple of years, like, "We're done. No more. I'm done with the
yeah.
finger pointing." And in fact, I made a declaration to myself a couple of years later. I was looking myself in the mirror. I had a couple girlfriends for about a year and a half each before I met Lynetta. And after one of the relationships was ending, I looked myself in the mirror and I said, you're a great catch. And if it's not this one, it will be somebody better. And she will be somebody who's both loving and powerful.
Mhm.
Now, loving I had, but what I meant by powerful is basically what Lynetta said earlier, somebody who would own their own stuff and not finger
Mm,
point at their partners and say, my unhappiness is because you, blah, 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 whatever.
Mhm.
And I didn't even know what that would look like. I had never seen anybody model that for me. But I just declared, this is what I'm going to have, a woman who is loving and powerful. And until I met Lynetta, I didn't know what it was going to be. And then when I met Lynetta and we started talking, then it was like, oh, this is exactly what I called in. It was a few years before.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, because I own everything.
Yep.
I will look at anything. I I don't shy away from that. Like, I
mhm.
know that there's freedom on the other side. If I'm a victim and I continue to be a victim, then how can I possibly ever be empowered in my life? I can't because it's somebody else's fault. And if it's somebody
Yep.
else's fault, then I won't make the changes I need to make to have the life I want. So
Yep.
owning everything and saying, "No, I chose this and this is what I'm going to choose going forward and to make those changes
Mhm.
that I need to make." Then I can create the life that I love and that I choose to have, which I have now. because I do own everything. And that's the freedom and the power that you get when you own your own choices and not play the victim card.
And it also includes owning what a lot of people call your shadow, your dark side.
Right.
Instead of
Mm.
saying, "Oh, no, that's not me. I don't have those attributes." It's like,
Mhm.
"Yep, I can be cunning and deceitful and lying and like all those things." You would
The hardest thing was saying I was not a good mom. I was a bad mom with my son. I was. I used to do things that I can't believe. And so when my son was older and he was very angry, I let him just lay into me, and I said inside I was shaking because his anger was so big, but I knew that everything he was saying was true, and I needed to own it and sit there and say, "Yep, that was unbelievable. I can't bel you did not deserve that. That should never have happened to you." And not excuse it and not make
Mhm.
any excuses for it. And I said, "Is there anything else?" And I just affirmed it. I have validated him. I was on his side until it was all released, all the anger. And then finally he said, "Nope, that's it." And ever since then, there's been no more anger. We got through it,
Mm.
and now there's a loving relationship, and we have total respect for each other now.
but there's one piece that I would probably say helped Lynetta to be able to do that, which is our "of course" philosophy.
Mhm.
You know, when Lynetta shared her whole background, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is like something I would see on a TV show." I didn't know anybody in real life who had gone through what she had. And, she shared how she was a bad mom, how she didn't take care of her son in a bunch of ways. And I said to her, "Honey, of course you were a bad mom. How could you have been otherwise? Because you had no role models
Mhm.
for how to be a good mom. You never saw it yourself.
Yeah,
You were basically abandoned.
yeah.
You didn't have any real love. Never
Mhm,
felt anybody had your back or really cared about you.
mhm.
So it's like, where would you have learned to be a good mom?
Yeah.
You did the best you could with no tools that you basically had."
Mhm,
And saying that, and we actually use this "of course" philosophy to say, yeah, of course you've dealt with your traumas these ways in the body, these ways in your mind, these ways in your feelings, because you had nothing better you could do with
mhm,
what you had to face when you had to face it and who you were at the time
mhm.
with basically no resources.
Yeah.
So to all of your followers who are listening to this, we want to really say, of course, you've got these things that are challenges in your life, whatever level they're on. Of course you do.
Mhm,
And of course, it's a challenge now. But recognize this is the start of the healing process. Recognize that these were brilliant survival strategies, whether it's your body that's carried certain things to this date because of traumas in the past,
mhm,
or your mind, or your emotions, or how you act in relationships.
mhm.
All those things were brilliant survival strategies at the time.
Yeah.
And that takes the shame and the guilt over what we've done because
Mhm.
of our trauma.
Yeah.
And once you can say, yeah, okay, fine. I get that's why I have these things. And that feeling guilty or shamed isn't going to help me move forward.
Yeah.
So when you get that acceptance, then you can ask the question, okay, so what will help me move forward? And this is where we offer some support in our books.
And we don't have any beliefs that we want anyone to subscribe to. We're not saying that you should take on any spiritual views we have or any of that. What we want is for you to tune in to what is true for you, what's resonant in your heart,
Mhm,
and be in
Mhm.
alignment with what you're knowing.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so good because
Yeah.
that's what I had to do during my healing after I
Yeah.
started healing.
Yeah.
was sit there and take myself, one, out of my past because that wasn't my life. I was just part of that life. I didn't have
Mhm.
any control of what happened.
Mhm.
Um, and then understand that because of what I knew growing up is why and what things that happened to me is why I made decisions that I did
Yeah.
Mhm.
going forward. And I've even
Mhm.
told my kids, I was like, "I'm so sorry that you had the life that you had." I said, "But to me, I didn't know anything different, so
Yeah.
I didn't know
Mhm.
there was anything wrong with it."
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
but
Yep.
I just feel like that's all I can,
It is.
really do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm. Yeah. Well, it's truth. You're speaking
yeah.
truth, and that's what your kids
A
need to hear.
and I don't
Yeah.
know if this spiritual viewpoint works for you, but since we've been talking about spiritual matters a little bit,
Mhm.
we would say that your kids chose you to be their mom,
Mhm.
and that before they came into this world, they knew some of what they were gonna be up for in this lifetime. That may not work for you, but it does work for us.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah. It just
I
feels
never
true to
thought of
my
it like
heart
that.
that
Mhm.
because even though, we had challenging parents and you may think,
Mhm.
"What? No way I could." But if you just try it on and feel into, well, if I did choose them, you start questioning, well, maybe I wanted to learn something from being with these kind of parents. Like,
Mhm.
what is it
Mhm.
that I wanted to learn from it? And then it's empowering, not disempowering. Because the other one is basically saying, well, I have no choice. I was just given these horrible parents.
I was a
I was a
victim.
victim. And then you have no choice in the matter,
No power.
no power.
Yeah.
No power.
Mm.
Yeah.
And we could talk a whole nother podcast on all these issues, and
Hmm.
we'd love to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes it
Not
ran
definitely.
up against beliefs that I was raised with. Of course,
Mhm.
there's a lot of programming that goes on if you were raised in a family that believed a particular faith or religion that you may be dealing with a lot of. But what I would say is like create your own personal relationship and then trust
Yeah.
that and let that be your guide, not what everybody's telling you should believe.
Mhm. Yeah, I know I have a lot of people talk to me about, like, their relationship with God.
Yeah.
They're like, "I don't understand how I'm supposed to do this because I read the Bible and all I see is words on the page," and I never understood that
Yeah.
until after my divorce. That's what my
Mm,
relationship with God was like. I felt so disconnected,
yeah.
and I would sit down and read the Bible, and I'd get nothing out of it. It was just like words on a page, and I
Yeah.
think it was because I had, um, my old Bible to where that was my old life. But I
Yeah.
also knew that I was stepping forward into a new life, so I didn't wanna sit there and go through everything in the old Bible, so I wouldn't read that one. So then I
Right.
bought myself a new Bible, and
Yeah.
then I had to also forgive myself for putting I don't know if you wanna call it shame or whatever, of getting a
Mhm.
divorce
Oh,
because
yeah.
Oh,
I was always
yes.
said, "Don't get a divorce." So
Don't
then
get a
I'm like,
Right.
divorce. Right.
like, he's gotta be mad at me because I got a divorce even though he told me to
Right.
get a
Mm.
divorce.
Right.
Yeah,
But I don't know, it was just
y
like the whole mind enemy
Mhm.
attacking me in it and all the things.
yeah.
Mhm.
I'm gonna add a little here, since I do
Mhm.
have a Jewish background,
Yeah.
that some of the Jewish teachings are very different from what are some of the Christian teachings and the Jehovah's Witness teachings.
Mhm.
So, for example, in Judaism, it's like divorce is not like to be taken lightly,
Mhm.
but if it becomes necessary, it's not a huge tragedy. It's like, okay, that's part of life. So
Mhm.
Judaism does not look down upon divorce like Christianity does. In
Mhm.
fact, there's no such thing as like forever, like vows forever, this lifetime, all lifetimes, like doesn't exist in Judaism.
Mhm.
There's no such thing. So there's very different spiritual viewpoints on a lot of these things, including divorce, sexuality in Judaism, way more liberal and
Mhm.
women favored compared to what I've heard in some Christian circles, what Lynetta shared in from her Jehovah's Witness background. Frankly, I was shocked because in Judaism, um, there's a focus on making sure the woman is pleasured. There's nothing about the man being able to demand anything sexually from his wife, but he is obligated to make sure his wife is sexually fulfilled.
Mm.
So it's
Mm.
like the complete opposite when Lynetta shared that she was taught that
You better give your man his due.
his due. I was like, where did you get
Right.
that from? That is the exact opposite from what Judaism teaches.
Did-
How did you twist it to mean the exact opposite?
Did you have that, Mesah? Did you have that women were obligated to give their
Sex.
husband their due?
Sexual satisfaction.
The only thing
due.
I ever heard about sex growing up was wait till you're married.
That's it. Okay.
But I didn't really
Nothing about-
grow up in the church, but that's all anybody ever said, wait till you're married.
Okay.
And when you're
That's it.
married, did they say what you could or couldn't do, or
Mm-mm.
No.
nothing about that?
Nobody talked
Okay.
about it. Growing
Okay.
up, I mean, I seen a lot about sex,
Mm.
but as far as anybody sitting down and talking to you about it, nobody ever did
No.
that with me. It was just wait till you're married, wait till you're married, wait till
That's
you.
it.
So
Mhm.
in my brain, I needed to wait until I was married, and that was part of why I fell so hard, because I was raped, and that was, like, the first time that I lost my
Oh.
virginity, and then right after that, I jumped into a relationship. So then my mom was all like, because she knew the guy that I was in a relationship with, and she's like, "He took your virginity," and she was so upset about it. And I said, "No, he didn't. I was raped by so and so." And she's all like, "What?" And it was just a whole ordeal, so
Mm.
I mean, but other than that, I mean, then after that, I was just a mess, obviously, because I never dealt with it or anything, and it was
Mhm.
a whole family issue, so but,
Mm.
yeah, that was the
Yeah.
only thing I ever heard was wait till you're married, so then I didn't wait till I'm married, so then I was just kinda like, gosh, another thing that I disappointed God about, you know? It's like
Mhm.
it's like that I feel like that was my cycle in life. Oh, I
Right.
did this one wrong thing, ugh, and it wasn't even my fault, even though I blame
Mhm.
myself for so many years about it, you know, but it was my fault.
Mm.
And so it's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, God doesn't love me. Put him on a show." You know, and
Mm.
then get a divorce. Oh, now I just disappointed him, but I didn't, and I knew
Mm.
that. But
Yeah.
it's so ingrained in you, don't get a divorce, you know? So,
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
yeah, it's hard. It really is. That's
Well,
why I always tell people, I'm like, "Don't focus so much on what people tell you to do and to not to do. Your
yeah.
relationship with God is your personal relationship." And then people
Yeah.
ask me, "How do you pray?" Just
Mhm.
talk to him like he's your friend.
Yep. Just like a
That's it.
conversation.
Yep.
Right.
I was like, "That's all
Right.
I ever do."
Mhm.
I have something to say, I'm struggling with something, I talk to him just like I do everybody else. He already knows what
Mhm.
I'm thinking, you know? That's what
Yeah.
they say. I would
And
think he
then
does.
you get some kind of answers or insights back?
Mhm.
You
Like,
d
how does
Yeah.
that occur for you?
Um, let's see. Example that I can think of right now is, especially after my divorce, I have asked him, like, "Should this person be in my life?" And I had a guy that I was hanging out with, and he had lost his job. So I was like, "Come down here, stay with me so you can get your job, you know, save up some money, and then you can go back home."
Mhm.
And, it was the night he was supposed to come down here, and I didn't realize he prayed about it, and I prayed about it too, and I was just like, "Look, if he's not supposed to come down here, because I'm gonna be stuck in another relationship, just please don't let him come." And that night, his car was repoed. So that's, like,
Mm.
one that's how he answers prayers of, like, people. It has to be, like, a hard, "This
S
person, it
so,
shouldn't
like,
be in your life."
external events would happen
Mhm.
that made it
And
clear
then
to you that this is what should or should not be.
yeah, for
Mm.
those type things. If it's more healing wise, it's usually just, like when I was with my husband, I was praying because, my cousin molested me, and then, like, he brainwashed me that, like, I basically loved him and we're, like, gonna run away together and all the things, and so
Uh-huh.
to me, I thought if somebody loved you, they had to give you sexual contact in some way. and my
Mm.
marriage didn't have that, and I struggled.
Uh,
And so I was like, "Why doesn't anybody love me?" And that's when I stopped praying for my husband and started praying for myself, and,
yeah.
God said, "Let me love you." So then I
Mm.
started reading my Bible more, and I started talking to him more, and then he showed me what love was. I mean, just
Well,
intuition-wise, I guess, I just
yeah, that's
Yeah.
yeah, tell me more about that,
Mhm.
your
um,
intuition.
'cause I never really thought about it. It's just if I get it's just like a warm feeling inside. That's the only way I can really explain it. And then
Mhm.
a lot of times I'll just hear a voice in my head telling
Ah,
me
yes.
good things
Yep.
about
Mhm.
myself.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, because I mean, like, you have all the negative things coming,
Yeah.
and then when it's God, it's like warm and it's happy and it's just like
Mhm.
Mm.
uplifting and you get like this little rush and it's
Mm.
coming
Mhm.
from a good place.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah, it
I'm
totally
Absolutely.
like, I never
does.
really never really thought about it, what it felt like or thought
Yeah.
about it.
Cool. Thank you for
Yeah.
But
sharing that.
And that's
no,
really
you're
good
welcome.
for anybody listening to help them
Mhm.
to tune in to what their guidance, what how they're listening to their
Yeah,
guidance.
when I go through my major healing, because a lot of people ask me how I healed on my own.
Yeah.
I didn't go to a therapist for anything.
Mhm.
I always just went straight to God. And did
Mm.
it happen right away? No, so he has to wait for the moment. I know for sure. He has to wait until I'm ready
Yeah.
and for me to listen.
Yeah.
Mm.
And, I was friends with somebody, and then they were, like, abruptly taken out of my life just because I chose not to talk to them for a while. I knew that that was what I needed at the time to heal.
Mhm.
So, I took that time, and I can remember I was just like, um because I felt like I was addicted to the person, because that was the first person who's ever paid attention to me, who's ever had a conversation with me, who ever wanted to be around me without fighting. Like, I didn't know that was possible. My
Mm.
entire life was never like that, so I had no clue that even existed. So then I was
Right.
Mhm.
addicted, like,
Right.
if I wasn't around the person or talked to the person for so long, I would literally feel like I was going through withdrawal symptoms,
Mhm.
Mm.
and it was horrible, and I was like, "I can't deal with this," and I'm pretty sure that that's why, God put things in place for us to separate. We didn't talk for, like, 4 months, and I took that 4 months, and I
Mm.
just healed, and I can remember I was laying on my bed and I cried so hard to the depths of my, like, soul, it felt like, and I to the point where I couldn't breathe, and I just laid there because I couldn't move, I couldn't breathe, and, like, God put a breath in me, and then I started crying all over again, and then he breathed in
Mm.
me again, and I started crying all over again, and then, like,
Yeah.
one last breath in, and I just, like, let it all out, and after
Mm.
that, I don't feel like I was a different person,
Mm.
Mm.
but that's what
Yeah.
I talk about how
Cool.
God heals me.
Yeah.
Is it okay if I
So
share an intuition story from my own life with you?
mhm.
This is kind of the opposite direction. After my marriage, as I shared, I had a couple different girlfriends. They're about a year and a half each. And the second one, we had a really lovely relationship. And we were planning on being together. She was a couple of years from retiring. And I met her when I was living in Florida, where I had lived for about 25 years. And then I moved back to California for health reasons. And she would come out in the summers to visit, and we were planning to be together. And everything was really lovely. I liked her, she liked me, I liked her friends. We had a lot of fun together. There were no problems in the relationship. And
Mhm.
then all of a sudden, I started to get this niggling in me that I needed to end the relationship with her. And I was like, what? Like, no way. I love this woman. She loves me. We're great together. Why would I do that? And this went on for weeks. And it was like, it
Mhm.
wasn't quite a voice. It was just this something saying, you need to end this relationship.
Yeah.
And finally, she was visiting at the time. And I woke up in the morning and I had tears in my eyes because I knew I had to tell her that we needed to break up. But the worst part was I couldn't explain why. Not to
Mhm.
her, not to myself. And I could always explain in my head why I did anything or didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And she asked me, why? Is there something we need to work on? What's wrong? And I said, honey, I would be lying to you if I said I have a reason. I know a reason. I don't know why. I just know that we need to stop seeing each other.
Mhm.
So she went back to Florida, and for a couple of weeks, we were in gradually less and less contact until we stopped talking completely. And for the next couple months, I was miserable. I was beating myself up like, why the heck did you dump this perfectly lovely relationship? I was just furious with myself day and
Mhm.
night.
Yeah.
And the worst part was I couldn't explain why, but it was like my intuition told me, stop being with her with no explanation. It was so
Yeah.
unsatisfactory. But then I went to the Human Awareness Institute, which is where I met Lynetta 3 months after I broke up. And when I
Mm.
met Lynetta, it was all of a sudden was like, oh, that's why I had to break up with this other woman because I needed to be ready to meet Lynetta.
Yeah.
And Lynetta is 100 times. There's nothing wrong with that woman, but
Mhm.
for me, she is 100 times better match than the other woman was.
Mhm.
So that was when I had to follow my intuition with no explanation. Hardest
Mhm.
thing I've ever done in my life, following my intuition.
Yeah.
And I have zero regrets.
Mhm.
This has been the most thrilling relationship ever.
Mhm.
Quite the
Well, thanks
journey.
for sharing that because I am the worst at listening to my intuition. Like, I have pretty strong discernment and, like, I will have no problem telling other people, like, "Oh, this person's not good for you. Maybe you shouldn't be friends with this person. This is probably gonna happen," yada, yada,
Mhm.
yada. But when it comes to me, I'm like, "Mm, yeah, but well, that's not that bad." It's probably why I ended up in all the relationships I'm in.
Yep. Yep. Know
Yeah.
it well.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
That's funny.
Easier to help other people
Oh, yeah.
and see
Mhm.
yeah,
Mm,
it is. It's
Yeah.
very natural.
okay.
Yeah, and sometimes, my intuition will come in a very loud voice that I'm like, "Where is this voice coming from?" Like, my husband, I was testing him all the time because, I wasn't a total believer even after what, 10
10 years.
years or whatever. I'm like, yeah, we'll see how long this lasts, you know?
Even
And
though we were amazing together, she
yeah,
still
I
had
had a
this
great
doubt,
relationship,
like,
but you
like I would
Yeah,
talk
I mean,
about
I get it.
soulmates.
right?
Yeah.
Because it's all these heartbreaks one after the other. I mean, the
Mhm.
geez, and then this voice is like, stop testing him. This man loves you. And I'm like, I just knew this voice was far greater than my voice that was
Mhm.
testing him, the one that was
Yeah.
testing him. So it's like there's a bigger voice. You could call it God, you can call it
Your
your
higher
higher self, you
self.
could call it your intuition, whatever that is. Trust me, I really believe that God doesn't care what we call it that as
Mhm.
long as we listen to it, and
Mhm.
trust it. And I knew that that voice was a loving, very loving, but very strong with me. Like, stop testing him. That's enough. And I was like, inside, there's a part of me was going, yes, yes, yes.
A
Okay, I hear you.
and she actually said it out loud. I was lying next to her in bed when she said this out loud, and I was like, "Oh, thank you, God.
Finally.
Finally, she's gonna listen to her. She won't listen to me, but she'll listen to you."
Oh, that's so
So
funny.
now, and
Yeah.
from then on, I stopped testing, and I really do believe and know that he loves me. It part of it was my self esteem was so low that I didn't
Mhm.
believe anybody could love me. So
Mm.
that was mine, and I think that voice was so lovingly telling me, "Look, you are loved. You are deeply loved. You're just not accepting it, and
Yeah.
it's time to accept
Stop
it."
batting it away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I'm so glad that you guys found each other. That just makes me
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah.
To me, I know I'm like freshly only a year and a half out of my divorce, still in my healing process, but I am
Mhm.
worried that I'm gonna find somebody like that and push them away
Oh,
because are they really who they say they're gonna be? Because
right.
everybody's always been not who they said or who they pretended to be at the beginning. So,
Mhm.
like, that's my fear now.
Mm.
Right.
Oh, can I share something here
Oh,
since you
totally,
bring that up?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Uh, so we would say that you attract people who are an energetic match for you.
Yeah.
So, and uh, when we say other people are a certain way, we're usually inadvertently fessing up on ourselves that we're really saying, "Well, I'm that way.
Right.
I can't be trusted
Right.
completely."
Right.
So you may want to ask, am I saying this about other people or am I saying it about myself?
Mm.
It's a tough thing to do.
It is. It's owning, which is it's like looking in the mirror and owning that shadow aspect, you know.
Mhm.
But it's
I
like me
mean
saying, my mom actually called me on it. She's like, "You keep attracting unavailable men because you're unavailable." And she was right about that. You
mhm.
know?
Does that land at all?
I I mean, I'm not really sure. I think the so when I start talking to somebody, I'm a little more open than I used to be,
Mhm.
but now I guess I'm getting to the point where I will talk about myself, but I hold a lot of things back
Yeah.
because in my past, people have used things like if they found out stuff about my past, they would use it to hurt me.
Yeah.
So it's like I have to really feel like I can trust somebody
Mhm.
before I open up to them, and then still I'm kind of hesitant and on what I'm going to say. Like I've been friends with this guy for a year now. We're like I like to say we're kind of like best friends because we just talk to each other.
Mhm.
I, in a way, like we're kind of like how you guys are to each other. Like he'll
Yeah.
call me out on stuff, I'll call him out on stuff. You
Mm,
know, if we have like
Yeah.
great.
questions about things, like we'll call each other and talk to whatever.
It's
Mhm.
Um,
great.
but I'm still hesitant on things that I tell him, especially if I haven't processed it myself yet. Like, if it's just something new
Mhm.
that, God is showing me,
Mhm.
then so yeah,
Mm.
I don't
He's
know.
not
But
somebody
I'm
you can process with, is he?
oh, yeah, he is.
Oh,
But it's just
Oh.
I wanna process myself first.
Mm.
oh,
So I have
okay.
all the information there because how things get brought to me is little by little. It, like, trickles in.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I'll start talking to him about something, and then he'll start talking on the subject, and then I'll be like, "Oh," and then him talking about whatever it is will okay, so let me give you an example. This just happened just a couple nights ago.
Mhm.
Um, I felt like I was fighting with my past, like my past self, and then who I wanna be in the future.
Mm.
So, I felt like the wild, fun side of me, let's say, shouldn't be going to the future, it should stay in the past. But then if you think about it, well, no, I just need to figure out who I am and not in the same concept as I used to think. Like before, I thought that if I talked about anything sexual or um, had a sexual conversation with anybody, whatever it may be,
Mhm.
then they're going to be like, oh, I only want her for sex, sort of thing. I should just leave that in the past and never talk to anybody about something like that again. But then I got thinking, well, eventually you're going to be married one day. So you're going to have these conversations, and that part of you still going to be there. You're not going to change a lot of that. Kind of like how you were about, your past self and going forward and your now self. And then
Mhm.
it stemmed back to how when my cousin raped me, how he made me feel. And I didn't want everybody to look at me in a sexual object,
Yeah.
basically what it came down
Mhm.
to.
Mhm.
And as he was talking, like, I was started processing all of this. So then I was like, "Well, I think I kinda figured out why I feel the way that I feel about a lot of things." And he's like, "Oh, do tell." And I'm like, no, I don't wanna tell you yet."
Uh,
I could tell it probably bothered him a little bit because, like, we tell each other everything, especially when it comes like that. He likes to help me process and help me figure out things. But then a few days later, that's when I realized that not everything about your old self going through the old relationships or like the trauma in your life and the way that you think about things is going to carry forward. But pieces of you are to carry forward. Like, I didn't think that you should be able to have fun in any way, like joking around or
mm,
dancing or letting loose or anything, because I was always having to stay hidden and looking to my surroundings, making sure I was safe and seeing where I was gonna go if I needed to or whatever. So
mhm,
that part of me was never there. So now slowly this other person is coming out of me and I'm like, "Oh, is that am I not supposed to be this person? Because that's the old me and this new me person is supposed to be this whole other person." So I think I'm kind of stuck in the middle of trying to figure out what pieces of the old me I can take into the new me, or do you just is it just you and you have to heal and then you just move forward and you are who you are? That's where I'm stuck at in my healing journey.
Mm.
That's
wow.
where I'm at. Does that make sense?
Mm.
Or does
Uh-huh.
it just sound like a bunch of randomness that
Mm-mm.
makes no sense at all?
Yeah.
No, I know, 'cause I've recreated my what I call it recreating myself, you know?
Okay.
So, I wanna create this new, you know but I remember when, I first moved away from Mariposa, which is my I was born and raised there, and I moved to San Jose, and I wanted to leave that I called it my needy Netta. I wanted to leave her in the past. And I didn't wanna bring that into my new life that I was creating for myself. I even renamed myself Mariah, wasn't even using Lynetta anymore.
Mm,
And when I met Mark, he didn't make my needy Netta wrong. He said, "Of course you have needs. Of course you wanna be loved. Of course you want attention." So he didn't make it wrong at all.
yeah.
So I could bring her forward, and I feel like we need to embrace that part of us, because if
Mhm.
we say, "Well, that was my past and I want to leave her," that's a part of you that if you don't embrace all of you, and there's on some level you're making yourself wrong for
Mhm.
being who you were back then. If you
Mhm.
bring her forward and say, "Oh, she's just a," like, I treat her like my inner child, and I reparent her and say, "Honey, it's
Mhm.
okay you have needs. It's all right. Of course you have needs. You wanna be loved." And I give her all the love, and I don't leave any parts of myself out. I don't think we can do that. If we do that, then you're not whole, you're
Mm,
fragmented, and you're
mhm.
scattering yourself, and you're not bringing all the parts home.
Yeah, I
Does
was just
that
gonna say that because I feel like I have holes in me and I just don't feel
Mm,
right, but I didn't know how to fix it, so that's probably why I'm trying to leave
mm.
I don't know, trying to make this whole new person. And I'm like,
Right. Well,
I
You
think I'm doing this
yeah.
all wrong."
Right.
Yeah.
No, no, it's just
Uh,
not complete. If you were to treat
mhm.
those younger parts of you like a little child and bring her in and talk to her like she's your little girl, that's inner child
Yeah.
work. And have you done inner child work where you work with those
Um,
younger parts? Yeah, that can be
I don't
really
think
super
so.
healing. Yeah, that's super, super healing. There's people who do just inner child work that, and I've done some work with this gal who just does that, and it's amazing work, and it makes a big difference. It's amazing how helpful that can be. Yeah.
Well, maybe we might have to have you back on here so you can talk about that some more.
Sure. We'd be
Yeah.
delighted.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah.
So much good
Thank you.
information.
What
I
a
really enjoyed having
great
you guys on here.
conversation. Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you for being so open.
Yeah.